GMNA uses artificial intelligence for generated speech, visuals, and production. AI-generated content may contain errors. Please verify important information before making decisions or taking action.
Good morning, Montreal. Tonight's Perseids should be spectacular with a dark sky, while traffic stays moderate still amid ongoing road closures. The Metro's flood mapping push is gaining provincial support, and Daniel Caesar headlines the Afro-Monde Festival. Over to you, Ryan.
Alex Newhook is hosting his third annual Alex Newhook and Friends Golf Classic back home in Newfoundland this weekend.
The event benefits local charities and will feature a Pro-Am round, with several former NHL players participating.
The tournament runs Saturday morning through Sunday afternoon, with a shotgun start at 9 a.m. and a prize ceremony.
All right, let's get into it, starting with today's top headlines across Montreal and the province. Here are our top stories. Tonight, Quebec will enjoy optimal viewing of the 2026 Perseids as a moonless sky darkens the horizon, promising a spectacular display for observers across the province. Philippe Nadeau has the full story.
Tonight's Perseids should blaze across the sky over Quebec as the meteor shower reaches its peak on the 6th of August, 2026. With the moon below the horizon, observers will have a pitch-black backdrop, allowing even faint streaks to stand out. Astronomers say the absence of lunar glare will push visibility down to roughly 24 degrees above the horizon, giving city dwellers and rural watchers alike a clearer view. The shower, which drifts from the constellation Perseus, typically delivers a handful of dozen bright meteors per hour at its height, and this year's conditions could push that number higher. Expect a steady rain of shooting stars lasting several hours after midnight. Philippe Nadeau, GMNA News, Quebec.
Quebec travelers from the Centre du Quebec and Estrie regions remain stranded in Mexico after WestJet halted departures amid a labor dispute. The airline announced Wednesday night that a work conflict with its crew has forced the cancellation of several outbound flights, leaving dozens of passengers unable to return home. Officials with WestJet say negotiations are ongoing, but no timetable has been set for restoring service. Affected travelers are currently confined to their hotels while consular officials coordinate assistance. The situation has prompted concerns among families awaiting the return of loved ones, and airline representatives have urged patience as they work toward a resolution. No further cancellations have been reported for other routes, but the dispute continues to impact the airline's international schedule. The Canadian Embassy in Mexico City has opened a hotline to field inquiries, and tourism officials warn the disruption could affect the region's summer visitor numbers.
Yesterday, Mitchell LeBlanc, a senior executive with the Montreal Metropolitan Chamber of Commerce, was officially confirmed as the Quebec Liberal Party's candidate for the upcoming provincial election. Party officials announced the endorsement at a press conference in downtown Montreal, emphasizing LeBlanc's business background and commitment to economic growth. The Liberal slate is being assembled ahead of the vote scheduled for October 5th, when voters will decide the province's next government. LeBlanc joins a roster of candidates seeking to unseat the incumbent party in a campaign that analysts expect to be closely contested. The announcement comes as the Liberals accelerate their outreach across the island, targeting key ridings with a focus on jobs, housing affordability, and health care. Voters will receive further details on the candidate lineup in the weeks leading up to the election.
Director Jacob Tierney urges fans to keep clear of Montreal and Toronto locations as Season 2 of Heated Rivalry begins filming this week, aiming to prevent disruptions for cast and crew. Jesse Cartier has the full story.
Jacob Tierney, director of the series Heated Rivalry, took to social media on August 5, 2026, urging anyone who spots the crew to give them room. He asked fans to stay clear of any streets, parks, or storefronts being used for the second season's shoot, whether in Montreal or across the border in Toronto. The call comes as cameras have begun rolling this week, with actors and technicians moving between locations to capture the drama. Tierney stressed that a clear perimeter helps the team stay on schedule and avoid unwanted interruptions. The production is expected to run through the fall, covering multiple neighborhoods in both cities. Jose Cartier, GMNA News, Montreal.
Yesterday, historian Genevieve Pronovost detailed the origin of Beaubien Street, a thoroughfare through city. She traced the name to a 19th-century entrepreneur and civic leader whose early urban contributions earned lasting recognition. Pronovost said municipal officials chose the name to honor his role in building infrastructure and community growth. Beaubien runs from the western edge of Plateau Mont-Royal, through Mile End, and into Rosemont, La Petite Patrie, serving residential and commercial traffic. The street cuts across several boroughs and keeps Figure's legacy visible. Residents often travel it without knowing the connection, yet the story shows how place names preserve the past. City archives record the designation was made in the late 1800s, part of a municipal effort to honor local pioneers. Pronovost presented her findings at a Heritage Office briefing, noting the figure also funded early road projects that became route. She added Beaubien name has remained unchanged for over 120 years. Soon we'll revisit the police probe into stolen vehicles and aluminum in St. Julie, and what it means for locals. We will be right back.
Every day, important stories happen across the city before any news crew arrives. Sometimes the very first person at the story is you. When you witness something newsworthy, open the GMNA Citizen Reporter app and start your report. The app guides you through every step while your report is delivered directly to the GMNA newsroom. Every submission is reviewed by our editorial team, and approved reports may be featured on GMNA. Get the GMNA Citizen Reporter app today at my.gmna.ca. Your city, your news. Every day, important stories happen across the city before any news crew arrives. Sometimes the very first person at the story is you. When you witness something newsworthy, open the GMNA Citizen Reporter app and start your report. The app guides you through every step while your report is delivered directly to the GMNA newsroom. Every submission is reviewed by our editorial team, and approved reports may be featured on GMNA. Get the GMNA Citizen Reporter app today at my.gmna.ca. Your city, your news.
Welcome back. Police from Quebec and Ontario have opened a joint probe after a sweep of a residence in St. Julie uncovered dozens of stolen cars and piles of aluminum ingots. Investigators say the cash was found on a single property in the Montérégie suburb, prompting a coordinated effort between the Sûreté du Québec and the Ontario Provincial Police. Authorities believe the operation may be linked to a broader theft ring that moves vehicles and scrap metal across provincial borders. Officers are canvassing the neighborhood, interviewing witnesses and tracing the origin of the metal shipments. The inquiry remains active, with detectives working to identify the owners of the stolen vehicles and to determine how the aluminum was sourced. Officials have not released further details pending the continuation of the investigation. The investigation is expected to continue for several weeks as authorities follow leads.
Quebec Provincial Police have located the missing 15-year-old girl in St. Hyacinthe, confirming she is safe after a week-long search. Jose Cartier has the full story.
The provincial police say a 15-year-old girl reported missing earlier this week has been located safe in St. Hyacinthe. Officers began a coordinated search after the teenager's family filed a missing person report on Monday. After interviewing neighbors and checking local schools, detectives followed a tip that led them to a residence on the outskirts of town. Police confirmed the girl was unharmed and is now with her parents. The investigation remains open to determine how she went missing, but authorities said there is no ongoing threat to the community. The Sûreté du Québec thanked residents for their cooperation during the operation. They will continue to interview witnesses and review surveillance footage to close the case. Jose Cartier, GMNA News, St. Hyacinthe.
July brought an unusual surge of severe weather to the province. While average temperatures remained close to normal, the month saw a series of tornadoes that touched down across several regions, leaving damaged homes and downed power lines in their wake. In addition, hailstones the size of golf balls battered communities, shattering windows and injuring a handful of people who were caught outdoors. The heat spikes, though brief, pushed daytime readings into the high 30s Celsius, prompting health officials to issue advisories for vulnerable residents. Emergency services responded to dozens of calls, and utility crews worked around the clock to restore electricity. Road closures and flight cancellations affected travelers throughout the province, especially in the eastern regions where the storms were most intense. Meteorologists noted that the combination of tornadoes, oversized hail, and elevated heat marks a rare deviation from the typical summer pattern for Quebec.
On Wednesday, the Communauté Métropolitaine de Montreal asked the Quebec government to back a new effort to identify every building most vulnerable to flooding across the island. The proposal, announced alongside Mayor Soria Martinez Ferrada, calls for a detailed geographic inventory that would combine historic flood data, drainage maps, and real-time climate projections. Officials say recent rainstorms have produced an unprecedented number of street-level inundations, overwhelming storm sewers, and leaving residents without power or access to homes. By pinpointing at-risk structures, the province hopes to prioritize upgrades to infrastructure and guide future development away from the most exposed zones. The CMM will coordinate the survey with provincial engineers, and the initiative is slated to begin later this summer, pending funding approval. City planners stress that faster data collection could reduce damage before the next storm season arrives.
Festival organizers at Isle Sonic have mandated only transparent bags, prompting a backlash from ticket holders ahead of the weekend of August 7 through 9, 2026. Philippe Nadeau has the full story.
Only clear plastic bags are allowed inside the grounds, and the rule has ignited a wave of complaints from attendees. Festival goers line up at the entrance, forced to discard or replace their regular backpacks, while many ticket holders take to social media to voice frustration. Organizers of the Isle Sonic electronic music event say the policy is meant to speed up security checks and prevent prohibited items. Yet the backlash is growing, with crowds describing the requirement as overly restrictive and inconvenient. Some fans have organized informal queues outside the gate, hoping to swap bags with vendors offering transparent alternatives. Security staff stationed at the turnstiles check each bag against the new standard, causing lines to stretch beyond the usual wait time. The dispute continues as the three-day festival rolls on. Philippe Nadeau, GMNA News, Isle Sonic.
Now let's turn to your morning forecast and see what skies await us today.
A south-southwest jet stream pushes warm air north, setting up a clear, near-record summer day. On this date, the all-time high reached 32.2 Celsius in 2022, a spike that rode the tail of a persistent heat dome across the Great Lakes. The all-time low fell to 13.2 Celsius in 2017, when a sudden Arctic surge slipped through the Hudson corridor, dumping temperatures well below the norm. Today's climatological average hovers around 27 Celsius for the high and 22 for the low. So the current forecast sits a few degrees above typical summer warmth. The live radar shows a clean swath of clear air over the province, with no precipitation echoes from the St. Lawrence or the inland valleys. The south-southwest jet stream aloft, moving at roughly 101 kilometers per hour, is steering any moisture well north of our basin. With high pressure holding steady, the atmosphere remains dry and stable, so we expect the sky to stay clear through the afternoon before fading into an evening. At 7 a.m., the city feels 19 Celsius under a mostly clear sky, humidity lingering near 91%, and a light southerly breeze at 4 kilometers per hour. The near-average high pressure is holding steady, allowing the south-southwest jet stream to stream overhead at roughly 101 kilometers per hour, reinforcing warm advection from the interior. By mid-morning, temperatures climb to 23 Celsius, then rise steadily to a high of 30 Celsius by mid-afternoon, still mainly clear. The ultraviolet index peaks at 8, indicating strong solar heating. Winds remain gentle, never exceeding 25 kilometers per hour, and no weather alerts are in effect. The atmosphere will stay dry through the evening, with sunset expected just after 8:17 p.m. before a quiet night sets in. Looking ahead, Thursday holds a high near 29 Celsius and a low around 19, with clear skies persisting under the same steady ridge. Friday introduces a shift as the jet stream nudges a moist frontal band into the region, bringing overcast conditions and a 45% chance of rain,
while temperatures linger near 29 Celsius. Saturday continues the wet pattern, offering light rain and a 55% probability, with highs easing to 27 Celsius. Sunday rebounds to mainly clear skies and a high of 26 Celsius, as high pressure reasserts itself. Monday closes the workweek with overcast skies and a 25% rain chance, temperatures holding around 25 Celsius. The week's thermal swing stays modest, but the mid-week rain window provides the only notable deviation from the prevailing dryness. And that's your weather. Remember, the local sunrise is also available as a podcast. Listen anytime on Apple Podcasts or wherever you get your podcasts.
Up next, traffic updates, a look at Daniel Caesar's show and the Afro-Monde Festival, plus Caulfield's top 10 winger ranking. We will be right back.
Every day, important stories happen across the city before any news crew arrives. Sometimes the very first person at the story is you. When you witness something newsworthy, open the GMNA Citizen Reporter app and start your report. The app guides you through every step while your report is delivered directly to the GMNA newsroom. Every submission is reviewed by our editorial team, and approved reports may be featured on GMNA. Get the GMNA Citizen Reporter app today at my.gmna.ca. Your city, your news.
Route 136 eastbound is closed at the downtown exit on Guy Street, forcing traffic onto side streets and adding delays of up to 15 minutes. Motorists heading toward the business district should divert onto Rue St. Laurent or Rue St. Denis, and keep an eye on the Ville-Marie Expressway southbound, where access at Jean d'Estrées is also shut. The Pont Jacques Cartier remains closed both ways, so crossing between Longueuil and Montreal must be done via the Champlain Bridge. On the Bonaventure Expressway, the exit near Pierre Dupuy Avenue is blocked, diverting traffic onto Rue Notre Dame. Highway 138 across the Mercier Bridge is down to a single lane each direction, creating a steady crawl during peak flow. Aside from these points, the rest of the network is moving freely, and there are no transit delays to report. Expect the afternoon rush to stay smooth on the highways, with the main bottlenecks limited to the closures already mentioned.
Daniel Caesar is taking the stage tonight at the Bell Center, bringing his Son of Spurgey tour with 070 Shake, a chance to hear the Grammy-winning Ranby voice live before the summer ends. Across town, the Afro-Monde Festival lights up Champ de Mars, offering music, fashion, art, and food that celebrate African culture, perfect for a weekend stroll with the family. If you're craving sport, the National Bank Open continues at the IGA Stadium, where the world's top tennis stars battle on the hard courts, a thrilling way to catch world-class action without leaving the city. And looking ahead, the Under Pressure Street Art Festival kicks off at Place des Festivals tomorrow, turning downtown into a vibrant canvas of graffiti, dance, and live music, a must-see for anyone who loves urban creativity. That's your quick guide to today's highlights. Stay tuned for more events, as the city buzzes all week. And now here's Tyler with sports.
Caulfield Climbing League rankings, a new blue liner signed, and the Habs offseason rolls on. Cole Caulfield is getting the league-wide respect Montreal fans already knew was coming. NHL Network slots him 9th among all wingers in the entire league. That ranking matters because it signals Caulfield is a certified top winger, not just a rebuild consolation prize. The conversation now turns to who Kent Hughes pairs around him, with unrestricted free agent Patrick Lane drawing attention as an offensive fit who won't break the bank. The Canadiens' blue line depth chart gets another name added. Defenseman Maximilian Schuber is officially signed to a 1-year, two-way deal for 2026-2027. Schuber came to Montreal in the trade that sent Joshua Roy to the Utah Mammoth. A two-way structure tells you Kent Hughes is keeping his options open between the NHL roster and Laval. Alex Newhook is back home on the Rock for his third annual Charity Golf Classic, a tradition that's grown right alongside his profile with the Canadiens. Off-season events like this keep players connected to their roots, but back in Montreal, the real conversation is about roles, depth, and how this roster shapes up heading into camp.
Dynacare in Laval's Biotech City just opened an advanced medical laboratory, a project backed by an investment of over $5 million. The new lab brings state-of-the-art testing and research capabilities to the Greater Montreal region, supporting everything from routine blood work to cutting-edge genomic studies. By situating the facility in the heart of Laval's biotech corridor, Dynacare is creating high-skill jobs and giving local researchers faster access to reliable data. The community will see quicker diagnoses, stronger partnerships with hospitals, and a boost to the province's reputation as a health innovation hub. It's a reminder that the city's best ideas stay local, caring for our families. For Montrealers, that means a healthier tomorrow built right on our doorstep. Stay tuned as we explore the future of Notre Dame East in Montreal and recap the historic Olympic Declaration. We'll be right back.
Every day, important stories happen across the city before any news crew arrives. Sometimes the very first person at the story is you. When you witness something newsworthy, open the GMNA Citizen Reporter app and start your report. The app guides you through every step while your report is delivered directly to the GMNA newsroom. Every submission is reviewed by our editorial team, and approved reports may be featured on GMNA. Get the GMNA Citizen Reporter app today at my.gmna.ca. Your city, your news.
Welcome back. Maxime Bergeron of La Presse walked Notre Dame East this summer, evaluating the street's condition and the stalled revitalization plans that have lingered for decades. Marion Cote has the full story.
Maxime Bergeron of La Presse spent the summer strolling down Notre Dame East, noting cracked sidewalks, overgrown trees, and storefronts shuttered for years. He pointed to the uneven pavement that forces cyclists onto the street and the faded signage that masks what once were bustling cafes. While construction crews have left empty lots where mixed-use towers were promised, community groups are now mapping temporary pop-up markets and green corridors as a stopgap. Bergeron said the street's aging infrastructure and lack of investment have stalled the larger revitalization plans that have lingered for decades. He concluded that any future renewal will need to address both the physical repairs and the neighborhood's desire for more active public spaces. Marion Cote, GMNA News, Notre Dame East.
The 1976 Montreal Olympic Games have been added to Quebec's Cultural Heritage Registry, commemorating 50 years since the event that attracted roughly 1 billion viewers worldwide. Jesse Cartier has the full story.
Officials from Quebec's Cultural Heritage Agency gathered today at Montreal's Olympic Stadium to formally add the 1976 Games to the province's historic registry. The ceremony marked 50 years since the summer event first put the city on a global stage, drawing an audience of roughly 1 billion viewers worldwide. Plaques were unveiled on the stadium's facade, and archival footage played on a portable screen as dignitaries recited the significance of the Games for urban development, architecture, and sport. Families and former volunteers stood nearby, recalling the bustling streets and the iconic tower that still dominates the skyline. The designation aims to preserve the venue and surrounding infrastructure for future generations. Jesse Cartier, GMNA News, Downtown.
Thank you, Montreal, for joining us tonight. From the perfect conditions set for the Perseids meteor shower expected in 2026 to the vibrant conversations about our city's history, it's been a pleasure sharing these moments. Stay tuned for tomorrow's stories and have a wonderful night. We'll be back early with more local news and insight.